My name is Gustavo. I'm a front-end developer here at Whiteprompt. And for this lightning talk, I will present about bring React to the desktop with Electron, with the title with From Browser to Desktop. It's basically an introduction of what it is, the Electron framework, and how can we use it. And I also have some examples that I did myself, some projects with Electron. So I'm starting introducing myself. As I said, I'm a front-end developer at Whiteprompt. I live in Brazil. I'm passionate with open source. I'm also an electronics hobbyist. I try to build things with something like Raspberry Pi, Arduinos, and also create my own devices. For example, last week I was trying to build a keyboard myself. I'm still waiting for some pieces, but I think I will get there. I also like to do presentations and share knowledge. I put here a photo of myself when I was on Python Brazil, and I was presenting about creating an autonomous robot with OpenCV and Python. So I like a lot to share knowledge and also teach people how to code. I also put here my Twitter and GitHub if you guys want to see more of those things. So what is Electron? Electron is a JavaScript framework for creating desktop applications. It's basically it. It's made with Chromium. For those who do not know, Chromium is the open source version of Chrome. What Chrome is, it's basically the Google code inserted at the Chromium open source browser. So it's basically the same browser, but with some things added from Google. What we use today normally is Google Chrome, and it's basically it. And it's originated by GitHub's add-on editor. And sometime before, there was an editor. It still exists, but there was so popular in that time, I guess, somewhere between 2016 and 2018 that the add-on editor is an editor made with by people on GitHub, and that editor is it's always showing this here. Okay, I will just put it here to not show anymore. But this editor, it's actually made using initial version of Electron that they call they call add-on shell, and then it evolved to be the framework that is today, that is Electron. So who today uses Electron? A lot of people and a lot of companies. So everyone knows Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It's made with Electron. Everyone knows Slack. It's still made with Electron. Adobe Premiere Pro. This is a new one because newer versions of Adobe Premiere Pro, for some components, they use Electron. It's a mix with C++ components and also some components they made with Electron. For example, the timeline component, the Adobe engineers find that it's better to use with JavaScript and HTML code, and so they prefer to use Electron for that kind of thing. And also Adobe XD, the design creation tool for an Adobe tool, it's also made with Electron. And a nice thing about those two is that they now you'll be able to create open source components made with React to use it on the Electron containers. So good thing that Adobe does this. I actually did some components for Adobe XD, for example, creating buttons. I did one time on a company that I had a plugin that you can create buttons or other components and export the code for JSX to be used on for the development team. And continue Spotify, actually only the Linux version is using Electron. The other versions right now is using more coding C++. And the hyper terminal, it's a terminal that made by Vercel, that they are the same creators of Next.js. They also use Electron and many more other apps. I can list, for example, the Facebook app for desktop too uses Electron, the Twitch app, and many more. there is a very popular solution right now because it's easier to set up. If you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can use Electron. So it's a good way to start a simple project, or as you can see, larger ones. So how does it work? So this is basically the Electron framework. The Electron framework, they create a main Electron process. This is a process made with Node. It uses Node environment to create that process. And that process basically creates a handler on Chromium. So going deeply in that explanation, what Electron does and what it is basically a stripped down version of Chromium made just to handle things and show it for the user. And it uses the main processor, that a main process that is basically a node process that have access to all node environment, all node functions. That means you can have here, for example, operational system commands and etc. Very advanced level commands also. And you can basically use all that commands on the handler window made on Chrome. And for the purpose of this presentation, I will show now how we can bring React to Electron and what is the best way, as I think, to use React with Electron. So the basic is you will have Electron, the main Electron process, the handler Chromium, and then the handler Chromium will create a page that uses React handler, the basic thing that you can, if you already started a project with React, you just need to put a component, and then on your index.html file, you have to put the app. The index.js will get that ID from the app and handle something. And then what I also did normally is I bind the main Electron process in the React handler. That means that with JavaScript code, you can access the main Electron process, and so you can have access to more advanced commands on the operational system. So you have basically React powered up. So I put things here that you can do. You can have access to operational system commands, as I said, restricted access to local files, better hardware access, not only web serial. This is basically for more advanced projects. If you can think, for example, remote controlling, I don't know, a LED, or putting some messages via Bluetooth serial or something like that. You can easily execute scripts from other languages. These you can think, for example, I can execute directly from my machine and a script with Python, and I can execute a script with SH script and more other things. Also, we're using Electron with a React app. We also made it work offline, and you'll have better hardware resources management, because right now with Node environment, if you know Node.js, you know that you can do things like memory management or space management, and also you can kind of do multi-threading, and also all of this will be available if you bind the main process into React. So I will put here an example of use. I myself did some kind of advanced use of Electron. For this use, I will show a dojo timer. If anyone here knows, basically dojo, it's an event that some developers do. Here in Brazil, I try to do this event sometimes, that we bring people and that they are interested in code and interested in solve problems. It can be a person that knows how to code or started to learning, but the idea is to bring that people to solve a problem in time and solve that problem in groups. For example, I can say that I can have 30 people that go into dojo, and the basic rule is every five minutes, two people try to solve a problem. So normally the problem could be, for example, create a program that translates a number to Roman algorithm or something like that, or create a program that can be used as an e-commerce or something like that. And we take the time, for example, 2 hours to solve this, and every 5 minutes we change the teams and they try to solve it. One thing that I did here in Brazil is that we created another rules to make it more interesting. And one of these rules is we can only do the programs and make it work if we use TDD, so test-driven development. And for that to work, I created a program that it's a timer and also can test your code if it's passing or not. Because we also had a rule that if the timer is green, everyone can talk and can like get tips from people that are seeing the two people that are programming. And if it's red, you cannot talk to anyone. You have to solve the problem first, and then you can continue. So I will try to show you guys here an example of this, because I have one here running. So basically, I create a simple test here for a problem. A problem, let's say, is just a simple problem. I will just put it here bigger. That is just to create a sum. So I create the function that did the sum, and I have to test it because it's TDD. So I had the function here, I had the test, and I will try to execute the test. Here I put a wrong test, that's why it's red here. I will put it because 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, okay. So we'll try, here I have a button to execute the test. So let's see, I will put here to start the timer. I will try to execute the test. So for this project to work, I actually create a minimal version of a terminal emulator. So as you guys can see, using React, I can actually create a terminal emulator that execute my jest test and show me the output of the test. And here I have one test passed and one total, okay. And the timer turned green. But what if I put the test to be wrong? Let's put 4 here because it's wrong. 1 plus 2 is 3, not 4. We'll try to close here. It will open the terminal again. And the test is not passing, hence the timer now is red. So I can control the output here, get the output if it's okay or not, change the color of my window here. And also another thing that I did is that window is always on top. So if I put something here, for example, the VS Code, as you can see, it's always on top of that.
Nice.
Because for us, if we are trying to run the test and etc., it's good to be always on top. So just to showing how it works, I can show it here. How can we make it work? What is the basic of an Electron app? So you have to just have the main process here. This is the main process of Electron. I created some additional things here because I have the main window, and if I create the function new window, it will create another window that is parent of the main window. As you guys can see when I execute here, if I open a new window, it will be parent of this one. And also if I try to execute the test here, as you can see, it will always be parent of this one. If I close this one, it will close all the windows. Because if I do not do that, it will close all the app if I close just one window. So this is one thing that I made. I also, for development purpose, I just execute the React app on localhost and render the page what is on localhost. But in the case, if I build that app and actually create a desktop app, I just get the path of the file that I create, the static file. So really basic. Here you guys can see on the documentation how you can, for example, here you see I created advanced functions, custom functions that you can edit or override the basic functions too. And as you can see here are containers, React containers, normal JSX here, React, that you can use alongside with Electron. So here I have just CSS and HTML that I put here. This is like not that good, but I did it just to make the terminal row work for now. But I have better solutions for that. And also just a Webpack configuration too. I have somewhere here. Some config here. That is normal Webpack configuration for React. One thing that I did is just on package.json that when I want to execute my app, I actually execute Electron and also run a server at localhost here. It could be anything. So I guess that's it. Anyone have a question about it?
I have a couple of questions, Gustavo. Great talk, by the way. You mentioned that you opened this localhost 88,000, I think. What is the purpose of that? That is not related to Electron itself. It's just serving up the page, or does it have a...
It's because for development purpose, it will be easier for me if I put it on a page, and then every time I do a change, it will use the React hot loader. So I will not need to close and open the app again. It will just see, I will just see the change here. But for production, I actually create a static site that this static site will be processed by the Electron handler and will be bind with node functions.
I guess my question is, when you open this in development, actually the app is running on that web server?
No, so it's running locally, but it's handling the page that is I can show it to you. Let's
you do that to get the benefits of having a way to access the files through HTTP.
Yeah. As I can see here, it's trying to run on my browser, but it will not work. But why it will not work? Because I actually using node environment here, and the browser doesn't have access to it.
Right. But you get all the hot module replacement and all that from that. Mm-hmm.
That's just a thing that I did to make it easier for me when developing. But it's not necessary to do that way. You can just like use the static files here. But it will be like a lot slower for development to use like that.
Right.
And also, nice. I also can install this on my computer, create like a binary version if I want. For example, I put an Electron pack here. This command here, it depends on the operational system that you are creating the package. So if I want to create this on Linux, I can easily create a Docker image and just run this command, and it will work. It will generate, for example, if I'm on Ubuntu, it will generate, I guess, that package. And if I'm on Windows, it will generate an XAE package. I think I got an error here. That's just the PNG that I put that.
Didn't like the dimensions of the icon.
Yeah, but I guess it creates one anyway. It's just, yes, it is here on distribution. Yes, here you can see.
Nice.
It creates an app. It's not showing, I guess the error actually do not work for generating, but it creates an app and you also can install it on your computer.
Nice.
I can see how is this error, and it depends on the operational system, the package that will create. And you can have all the benefits of doing like a normal site using JavaScript or HTML, and it creates an actual desktop application that may work offline depending on the application developed. In that case, yes, it will work offline.
Nice. Ale, maybe something to consider for the operators in your project in Olive.
Excuse me?
No, sorry. I was thinking out loud for Ale and the only project they could maybe benefit from this because they run this. They have like internal users of the application that run like a subset of the functionality of the application, and maybe this is a nice way to package the application and avoid going to the browser. Maybe it's faster. I don't know. Just
Yeah. And it's also interesting to notice that I'm actually developing on the program that is made with Electron, and I'm creating an Electron app.
That's curious. Absolutely. I have another question, not directly related with Electron, but with the dojo. But I don't know if any other guys have more Electron specific questions before I.
Yeah, I have one question. Hi, Gustavo. How do you get the result of the test in the code?
Oh, okay, I can show it to you. There is a node code that you can use that actually a node library. It's called node PTI. That what this library does is it uses the child process of the node environment, and you can have access to execute operational system commands and get its output. And basically, all operational system commands have an output that has success parameter that you can have 1 or 0 depending on if the command is okay or not. In the case of jest, it always returns 0 if the test failed. So I just get from that parameter if it's 1 or 0, and if it's 0, one test did not pass. So it goes to the rule that I said that if it's not passed, you have to solve it first. It's actually an easy implementation. I can show it here. Let me see. It's on timer, I guess. Yes, it is. Second threshold counter.
Yeah, there it is. If counter is equal to 0, is that?
Excuse me?
There it's, the code says if counter equals 0.
Yeah. Oh, here. It is the code that I said to you. So it basically will try to get an error. If I do not get an error, I set the color to green. If not, I set to red. It's basically that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was curious. Thanks.
And I using this is the library that I said to you, the PTI proc, that will try to execute terminal functions. I actually have the function somewhere here. I have write it on variables. I think that it depends on the user input, so it will not show exactly the function here. And also I can configure the platform, as you can see. I configured the basic platform to be Win32, but it can be another thing.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Gustavo.
Yeah, great.
All right.
I had a question regarding dojos. You mentioned that you like that practice. We tried to start a dojo here in White Prom some months ago, but I guess we lack the determination and of keep doing them. I was curious if you would be interested in teaching us some of the exercises and dojo techniques that you know from Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be glad to do it. And also I'm planning to do another presentation about how to do a dojo, because here in Brazil we did it, and I thought it was very beneficial, not only for me that I already know how to code, but other people that are trying to learn how to code. Because when we started doing dojos, we do it like independent of platform or language. So at that time I did not know anything about Python. And I started learning Python because of the dojos, because many people ask, oh, let's do a dojo using Python and solve problems and etc. And I basically started learning it on the coding dojo. And
Nice.
as I can see in the best way possible, because I started learning Python using TDD and using PyTest and everything like that.
Nice.
So I started learning Python with the best practices.
Well, then I'm more than curious and excited about this dojo presentation that you are going to be. I'll be there, and I'm more than willing to restart with the dojo here at YPROM. So it sounds like we have a plan.
All right, and anyone curious about how to do it and how to do it remotely? Because I actually did the application with the intention to make the dojo working remotely.
Yeah,
so anyone could
it,
have the timer and start it. Everyone, if I'm sharing the screen and showing the problem, everyone can see. I have an integrated terminal that everyone can see if the test passed or not, or what got the problem, and people can give tips, etc.
Nice. Cool. Then maybe next week or the week after we can do this presentation and then get the next steps to perform the dojo sessions later on.